ever think you're too sensitive, as if your feelings were a burden? You're not by yourself. Those who have strong emotions but wish to learn how to use them for survival rather than weakness should watch this video. You've experienced it previously, that strange bond with someone. They appear to have a deeper understanding of you than you do. However, something doesn't feel quite right. It seems inexplicable, but there is a catch. Charm, isn't it? It's accuracy. They don't come after you. They captivate you. They listen to your pain, speak your language, and provide solace. At first, you feel secure. It's too late before you realize what's going on. They have already obtained what they desired by that point. They are not like everyone else. Despite what you may believe, they are not merely cruel manipulators. It has nothing to do with hurting you. It's about getting by in a society where being vulnerable can lead to abuse. The dark empath can help with that. The dark empath doesn't manipulate other people with their feelings. They defend themselves by using their emotional intelligence. They have discovered that being vulnerable isn't always safe after being wounded by their own sensitivity. The catch is that being sensitive does not equate to weakness. That sensitivity may be your greatest asset if you can learn to manage it. Everyone has been taught that sensitivity is a virtue, that what makes us human is our capacity for empathy, compassion, and attentive listening. However, in practice, being sensitive frequently results in harm. People will exploit it. Without you even realizing it, they will play with your emotions. However, what if you didn't have to stop being sensitive? What if you could use it to defend yourself rather than to be exploited? Imagine being able to use that depth of feeling as a shield. That's what the dark empath learns to do. They give up seeking other people's approval. They give up on trying to accommodate everyone. Rather, they develop self-control over their empathy. They become conscious of their surroundings. They pay attention, they watch, and they apply what they discover to their own defense. The dark empath controls their emotions. They make strategic use of them. They process, not just feel. They don't allow their generosity to be exploited. They recognize when someone is attempting to control them and stop it before it begins. The dark empath flourishes in a society that does not value sensitivity. They have discovered that being sensitive need not be a sign of weakness. It could be a survival tool. However, it goes beyond simple survival. It has to do with power. It's about using emotional intelligence to navigate the world without becoming overwhelmed by it. The dark empath doesn't have to defend themselves. They don't have to defend what they did. They don't have to look for approval. They are self-sufficient. They are aware of their value. They are untouchable because of this. Many people consider sensitivity to be a gift. It's referred to as your superpower. In actuality, though, it can also feel like a curse. You are aware of every change in the space and every emotion that people are trying to conceal. You care, you understand, and you listen. What occurs, though, if that sensitivity is turned against you? You expose yourself to harm when you care too much. When you allow someone else to access your feelings, they exploit it. You feel depleted, worn out, and deceived in the end. What should have been a strength, your empathy, becomes a burden. You begin to see that you become more vulnerable the more you care about other people. You start to notice the trends, how people will take advantage of your generosity, your ear for listening, and your readiness to assist, all for their own gain. It hurts too. It resembles a deep wound. The problem is that you are not to blame. You are not instructed on how to defend yourself against the emotional pitfalls of the outside world. You learn to listen, to care, to empathize. However, you were never taught how to control your emotions. Nobody warned you that having strong emotions could turn you into a target. Those who care the most are not rewarded by the world. Those who are able to regulate their emotions are rewarded. Those who don't allow their emotions to interfere with their ability to survive. The dark empath enters the picture at that point. They discover how to focus that empathy on themselves. They use it to defend themselves rather than allowing others to drain it. They cease offering limitless opportunities to those who refuse to reciprocate. When they realize they don't have to bear the burden of other people's suffering, they cease to do so. They realize that showing concern is a sign of awareness rather than weakness. The dark empath has suffered harm. They have experienced the pain of betrayal. People who only wanted something from them have drained them. However, they use that to strengthen their emotional fortitude rather than allowing it to shatter them. They no longer act as an emotional sponge. They no longer allow others to take advantage of their generosity. They continue to be empathetic. They don't get cold. They simply learn to manage it. When necessary, they learn to switch it off. They are aware of when to listen and when to leave. They are aware of when to maintain their composure and when to assert themselves. It's not necessary to be a doormat to be an empath. You don't have to constantly feel everything. You have the power to decide when to let people in and when to keep yourself to yourself. Instead of allowing your empathy to bring you down, you can learn to use it to your advantage. That's the change. When the empath understands that they don't have to fix everyone, they don't have to bear the suffering of everyone, they don't have to cure everyone, all they have to do is recover. The dark empath remains sensitive. They continue to have feelings. However, they no longer allow that emotion to ruin them. They discover that setting limits is acceptable. Saying no is acceptable. They begin to take charge of their emotions and their lives after they accomplish that. Have you ever had the feeling that your generosity is being exploited? Like you keep giving, but it never seems to be enough? The cycle needs to be broken. We'll now examine the emergence of the dark empath who rises from suffering to authority. You eventually give up trying to win people over. You give up trying to please everyone. It never seems to work out, and it is very draining. You listen, you care, and you give. However, what do you receive in exchange? Disappointment? Then something changes. You come to see that having empathy and sensitivity need not be a weakness. If someone wouldn't do the same for you, you don't have to keep bleeding for them. You begin to defend yourself and stop giving without end. The dark empath is born at this point, from survival, not cruelty. You've been harmed too many times, and now you're refusing to continue. You start filling your own cup first and stop pouring from an empty one. Being heartless is not what it means to be a dark empath. It's about learning how to defend yourself in a world that is always trying to take from you. Kindness is frequently misinterpreted as weakness, as you have witnessed. You've witnessed how someone has taken advantage of your good intentions to control and manipulate you. You know better now, though. You start to see that not everyone is deserving of your sympathy. You've sacrificed your heart, time, and energy for people who didn't value it. When you needed them most, you trusted people who abandoned you. You're done, though. You are no longer giving yourself away. Rather, you begin to observe. You begin to see people not for who they pretend to be, but for who they really are. You quit getting sucked into their drama. You can see right through their empty words, small talk, and smiles. Even before they speak, you can sense their intentions. Not everything elicits an emotional response from the dark empath. They avoid becoming entangled in the confusion. They listen, they observe, and they adjust. Instead of allowing their emotions to rule them, they have learned to manage them. They've learned to defend their tranquility and avoid contact with those who disregard their personal space. This change is difficult. It hurts. However, it is essential. The dark empath has discovered that they don't have to let their intense emotions break them. They have used their depth of feeling as a shield. They have stopped allowing people to walk all over them. They have discovered their power by mastering the art of detachment. And that's the main distinction between dark empaths and others. They don't have to demonstrate their worth. They don't require approval from others. They now know how to stick to their own convictions. They no longer plead for approval. When someone doesn't respect them, they simply leave without hesitation. The dark empath isn't a predator. They are not manipulators. They don't plot. They just don't let anyone take advantage of them because they know how valuable they are. They discovered the hard way that good deeds aren't always rewarded. However, self-respect does. To have an effect, the dark empath doesn't have to speak loudly. They now understand that sometimes silence speaks louder than words. They remain motionless and watch while the rest of the world cries out for their attention. They avoid becoming enmeshed in the commotion. They know how to remain composed during a storm. You've already seen it. People who are constantly the center of attention and in the spotlight. They make a lot of noise. They have high expectations. They want to be seen by everyone. However, you've discovered that you can be heard without screaming. You don't have to compete for attention. You've discovered strength in taking a back seat and refusing to participate. This does not imply that you are no longer concerned. It indicates that you no longer allow other people to dictate how you feel. Their approval is no longer necessary. You don't have to give an explanation. You don't have to defend what you did. You've discovered that your best weapon is silence. You begin to see things more clearly when you stop responding to everything. You begin to notice previously overlooked details. You can tell when someone is acting phony, attempting to control you, or posing as someone they're not. Before anyone else does, you are able to sense the tension in the room. You are able to watch, comprehend, and get ready because of your silence. The dark empath is an expert at listening, not so that they can react, but so that they can comprehend. They hear more than just words. They are able to hear the hidden motives and underlying feelings. They are aware of the changes in body language and the nuances in people's voices. They can tell when someone is hiding something or lying, and they wait rather than respond. The dark empath knows how to blend in and remain invisible in a world where everyone is vying for your attention. They don't have to appear strong to be respected. They don't have to be heard. Without uttering a word, they command attention. Control is the source of this power. Their responses are controlled by the dark empath. They refuse to be drawn into needless drama by others. They don't waste energy on unworthy people. They are aware of when to talk and when to keep quiet, and they find their strength in that quiet. It's likely that you have encountered circumstances where you felt compelled to defend yourself by speaking up. However, remaining silent elevates you above the status of a mere bystander. You develop into a strategist. You realize that those who don't understand you don't need an explanation. You are aware that your silence speaks louder than words ever could. The dark empath has nothing to prove. They don't have to persuade people of their value. They don't require approval. They've come to trust their instincts and themselves. They are aware that their deeds ultimately speak louder than words ever could. And when they do speak, it's with strength, clarity, and purpose. Have you ever had the feeling that you give too much? That your efforts are never sufficient, no matter how hard you try? That needs to change. We'll now discuss taking charge of your emotional life and establishing boundaries. One of the most crucial lessons you've learned as a dark empath is that you can't reveal everything. A cup that is empty cannot be used to pour. You must establish firm boundaries if you wish to endure in a world that is always tugging at you. It's not simple. You have been the one who pays attention, shows concern, and lends a helping hand for a very long time. You've invested your time, effort, and feelings in people who didn't merit them. What did you receive in exchange? Disappointment, betrayal, fatigue. But that's over now. The dark empath is aware of their value. They are aware of how valuable their emotions, presence, and energy are. They refuse to have that taken away from them. They now understand that setting limits is not selfish. They are essential to survival. Saying no is only one aspect of setting boundaries. It all comes down to understanding and respecting your boundaries. It's about safeguarding your time, energy, and tranquility. It all comes down to knowing when to back off and when to remain firm. The dark empath doesn't feel bad about setting limits. They realize that they will become someone else without them. Setting boundaries has probably made you feel bad in the past. Most likely, you've been concerned about other people's reactions. Are they going to be angry? Will they believe you're chilly? In actuality, though, people who value you will comprehend, and those who don't, they will attempt to control you, guilt trip you, or make you feel guilty for prioritizing yourself. But now you're more aware. You are aware that their viewpoint is irrelevant. The dark empath has mastered the art of following their gut. They've learned to say no without giving a reason and to leave without feeling bad. They don't have to defend what they did. They don't require anybody's blessing. They have created a life in which they alone have the authority to determine who can access them. They begin to regain their emotional sovereignty after they have established those boundaries. Taking complete control of your emotions is the goal of emotional sovereignty. It's about controlling your emotional world rather than being a slave to it. The dark empath no longer allows their feelings to control them. Although they never allow them to dictate how they behave, they use them as a tool to get by in life. But that doesn't mean the dark empath doesn't have strong emotions. They still experience all emotions, including love, grief, joy, and pain. However, they have acquired the ability to regulate their reaction. They've learned to experience emotions without allowing them to control their behavior. They've come to realize that their peace comes first. Your boundaries are irrelevant to the outside world. It will continuously attempt to pressure them and make you feel bad for taking care of yourself. The dark empath, however, is not duped. They are aware of their value. They are aware that safeguarding their energy will ensure their survival, peace, and future. A paradox is the dark empath. They appear cold from the outside, far away, detached. They are not understood by people. They believe that the dark empath has lost their empathy and kindness. However, they are mistaken. The dark empath continues to have strong emotions. They are still concerned. They simply no longer allow their feelings to rule them. Emotional control is not a sign of weakness, despite what many people believe. It is an indication of strength. The dark empath has developed the ability to safeguard their emotional reserves. They've discovered that you have to be cautious about who and what you put your energy into in a world where everyone is always trying to take. The paradox is that a dark empath gains power the more they withdraw into their own emotional realm. They become stronger the more they protect their tranquility. And people are afraid of that. People are accustomed to emotional outbursts. They are accustomed to viewing vulnerability as an indication of warmth, kindness, and honesty. However, people begin to panic when the dark empath stops displaying those traits and when they stop responding to all emotional cues. They are unsure of how to react to someone who is resistant to influence, someone who doesn't seek approval or get angry. They begin referring to you as heartless, aloof, or even frigid. They may claim that you have changed. In actuality, though, you haven't changed. Simply put, you no longer allow people to take from you. You no longer allow your feelings to dictate how you behave. Some people don't understand what the dark empath does. They know that controlling your emotions is essential to genuinely surviving in this world. Although you should be conscious of your surroundings, you don't have to respond to everything that occurs. You don't have to become involved in the drama. You don't have to get embroiled in every dispute or emotional dispute. You gain the ability to remain composed, pay attention, and adjust. Emotionally reactive people are simple to control. They are predictable. People can read their feelings like a book because they show them off. The dark empath, though, they cannot be read. They don't respond. They don't openly express their feelings. And that's what gives them their immense power. They understand how to maintain control over their emotional environment and how to regulate their reactions. However, that control is not something that comes easily. It requires practice. Recognizing emotional triggers, knowing when to speak and when to remain silent, and knowing when to leave and when to remain in the moment are all skills that require years of practice. The dark empath is aware that responding is not the way to gain power. It's in managing what's within, and that's what makes the dark empath unique. They now know that observation, emotional control, and silence are the keys to real power. They've discovered that they can maintain their untouchability by not responding to everything. You've learned to control your emotions, maintain your composure, and harness the power of silence. It's time to stand by your convictions now. People will misinterpret you. That's the point, though. It's time to get up, unflinching and untouchable. It's not an easy path to become a dark empath. It hurts. It's a process of developing and learning from each setback and betrayal. But despite everything, you have gained control, which is priceless. You are in charge of your life, your emotions, and your energy. For those who wouldn't do the same for you, you've stopped bleeding. You no longer pursued those who didn't show you respect. You now know how to set boundaries, keep your peace, and use your emotional intelligence to navigate the world rather than become a victim of it. The problem is that you are not the bad guy. You're not chilly. You're not cold-hearted. You're just someone who discovered the hard way that when kindness is given carelessly, it doesn't get rewarded. Strength is rewarded in the world, and you've grown stronger by becoming strategic rather than vicious. The dark empath doesn't require approval from others. They don't have to convince anyone of their value. They have discovered that real power comes from maintaining their emotional sovereignty, their silence, and their truth. They don't look to others for solace. They themselves close chapters. They don't hold out for selection. They make their own decisions. This world will attempt to control you. It will attempt to drain you and turn your generosity against you. However, you don't have to allow it. You've come to realize that your sensitivity is a strength rather than a weakness, and it turns into your greatest weapon when you stop allowing it to rule you. What comes next? It's time to get up. The days of apologizing for who you are over. Stop describing your boundaries now. Stop defending your silence now. There is no need for more people seeking approval in the world. More people who know their value, stand by their convictions, and are unaffected by the opinions of others are needed. Because they don't require validation from others, dark empaths are untouchable in this world. They now know that the most dangerous person is the one who experiences everything but loses control of it. They now know that emotional intelligence can be used as a shield once it is mastered. They are not manipulators. They are not required to. They just know how to keep themselves safe. By learning this, you've already taken the first step. It's time to put it into practice. Start believing in your own strength. Establish boundaries now. Begin to observe as well as to listen. Give up chasing. Allow others to approach you. You become unstoppable once you have perfected the art of emotional control. Therefore, keep in mind that the next time someone calls you aloof or cold, it's because they don't understand you. And it should be just that way. You've discovered that the secrets to living and prospering in this world are observation, emotional restraint, and silence. It's time to accept your power now. The dark empath is you. You can't be touched by anyone. Are you tired of being misunderstood, drained, and taken advantage of? It's time to stop letting your sensitivity hold you back. In this video, we'll show you how to harness the power of emotional control, set boundaries, and become emotionally untouchable. You'll learn the secrets of the dark empath, someone who doesn't let the world manipulate their emotions. If you're ready to protect your peace and rise above the chaos, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and drop a comment below. Don't forget to check out our next video on mastering emotional intelligence.